Welcome back to Inside Politics. In the 16 days since Hamas attacked Israel, anti-Semitic incidents in the United States have increased. In San Diego, a Jewish community center closed indefinitely after 2 vandalism attacks. Swastikas were drawn on a New York City's deli door. And a professor from Cornell University is on leave of absence after saying he was energized by Hamas's attack. And more broadly, on college campuses, student protests have glorified the Hamas terrorists who attacked the music festival on October 7th. While many have spoken out against this hate, Congressman Richie Torres of New York has remained one of Israel's most vocal defenders, and the congressman joins me now. Thank you so much for being here. You are a proud member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, but on the issue of Israel, your very vocal position is notably different from many others. For example, you wrote that the quote, democratic socialist industrial complex indoctrinates young Americans with an anti-Israel hatred so virulent that it renders them indifferent to the deadliest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. Why do you think that is happening?
Look, there's been a concerted campaign to demonize Israel as if it is the root of all evil. And when you systematically demonize Israel, what inevitably follows is the dehumanization of Israeli victims. What inevitably follows is a democratic socialist rally that glorifies the terrorism of Hamas. And so in my opinion, the hatred for Israel, the hatred has been taken too far. And, hatred is dangerous because it can easily harden into violence. And we've seen the demonization of Israel lead to a global outbreak of anti-Semitic violence, vandalism, and vitriol. Here in New York City, there was a Jewish woman who was punched in the face abruptly, unprovoked, simply because she was Jewish. And so we are seeing anti-Semitic incidents take hold in an atmosphere of amplified anti-Semitism and heightened hatred against Israel as the Jewish state.
Richie Torres, this is what the Democratic Party does to people, does to Black and brown people. The Democratic Party is where movements go to die. You have the Black Congressional Caucus fighting for Israel harder than they ever fought for the Black community. CJ, do you see people in the Black Congressional Caucus calling to go to war for Black America? We need to be militant against the police that are killing our communities. No, none of that. The Democratic Party turned these Negroes into tap dancing servants of the Israeli lobby. One of the highest crimes. Now let's talk about this quote unquote rise of anti-Semitism, right? Now we need to have the correct framing on this. The rise of anti-Semitism is due to the failure of Zionism. I am a staunch anti-Zionist. You have people like Nikki Haley that say if you're anti-Zionist, you're anti-Semitic. And that means absolutely nothing now. If you're a Zionist and you call me anti-Semitic, that's like you call me a stupid doo-doo head or something. You know what I mean? It's an insult that fucking means nothing. Yeah. Means nothing. And CJ, I know you got a lot to share today. So this mostly I'm going to let you go through the receipts. I'm going to have a lot to share with that as well. But I want to show you guys this because this is a great video from Caitlin Johnstone regarding these Israeli defenders, right? And they are going through a PR disaster right now. Israel is, because anti-Semitism, this weaponization of it doesn't work anymore. We showed you guys the video of the Mossad agent who explains how the corporate media works with Israel to label people anti-Semite. So they are putting the onus on Jews and other people to be loyal to the Israeli state. This creates a wave of anti-Semitism because people view people who are part of the Jewish faith as complicit with Israeli crimes. So Israel and the ideal of Zionism makes Jews more unsafe than any other ideology. The people who are safe, by the way, the people that can go to Gaza, people like Max Blumenthal and many other Jews that stand for Palestine, they're safe. But Zionism created this culture where Jews are absolutely not safe. And saying that Zionism is connected to your feelings of Semitic people is anti-Semitic because Palestinians are Semitic people. So I just want to play this, CJ. I'll pass to you. I know you got a lot of shit.
Absolutely.
I'll let you take the lead today. I think this is a good way to start based on that clip. This is a great video for Kaylin, and I'll pass it back to you. I think you probably had a lot to say on this. This is fantastic. I literally saw this earlier today. Great video. This is the average. This is what the average Zionists think is happening right now, CJ, during these conversations.
Israel apologist. I used to be pro-Palestinian, you know. I thought Israel was wrong for carpet bombing Gaza and using siege warfare on civilians. But then I ran into a very wise Israel apologist who changed my way of looking at things forever. I was walking down the street and I saw him leaning against a lamppost, smoking a pipe as wise men do. Your shirt says Free Palestine, he said from behind a plume of smoke. Yep, I replied. So I guess that means you love Hamas then, spake he. I stopped in my tracks. I'd never thought of it that way before. Could it be? Could my opposition to murdering civilians really be indicative of a deep affection for a Gazan militant group? Maybe I really did love Hamas and think everything it did on October 7th was great and wonderful. Is this really how I want to live my life? I thought to myself. I said out loud. Or perhaps, he said with a raised eyebrow, you just hate Jews. I fell to my knees. Oh my God, you really had a point. What possible reason could anyone have for opposing military explosives being dropped on buildings full of children, besides a seething, lifelong hatred of adherents to the religion of Judaism? How could anyone possibly oppose siege warfare tactics which cut off civilians from food and water and electricity and fuel and medical supplies, unless they harbored dangerously negative opinions about members of a small Abrahamic faith? Who are you? I asked. That's of no consequence, he said, casually blowing a smoke ring through another larger smoke ring. But the children, I stammered as my entire worldview crumbled before my eyes. The civilians, they're dying. Isn't it bad that they're dying? And then he delivered the coup de grace. Have you considered, he said before a pregnant pause, that all of those deaths are the fault of Hamas? It was like a 50-megaton nuclear explosion off inside my brain. I felt brought back. The world was spinning. A trickle of blood ran down into my hair from my ear. I felt all the anti-colonialism leaving my body. I suddenly could no longer remember why I thought it was bad to rain down military explosives on a densely populated concentration camp. Everything went black. When I finally came to, the mysterious stranger was gone. But his wisdom and profound insights into Israel and Gaza will always live on in my heart.
That's the average progressive accept Palestine. That's Rishi Torres. If you guys think that she's exaggerating, Caitlin Johnstone, who made this amazing piece here.
Yeah,
Caitlin Johnstone is one of the white left that we are supposed to hate for some reason, according to some people. According to some people, we're supposed to hate Caitlin, I guess, for some reason. But obviously, this is a base video for Caitlin Johnstone, friend in the network. Always prop up her work. She does amazing stuff. This is how you use satire.
That's one of her best pieces. That has to be one of her best pieces I've heard in a long time. Or it's just hitting hard because it is a current issue that's going on. But I'm so happy, Nick, we work so well together because we've been doing this a while. Because that is a perfect preface to the video that we're going to be examining. With Midwestern Marks is sort of featured in here. It's a quick video we're going to watch. Amazing. And it speaks to the title of this segment, which is Israel is absolutely losing the PR war. This video illustrates how it is absolutely they're ripping their hair out on why people are supporting Palestine. So let's listen
Pro-Israeli people are losing the PR war and they know it. Listen to this.
Yeah, I'm glad he's sharing this.
I'm sorry. I should have prefaced it a little more. What she is examining in this TikTok video is this event put on by the Pro-Israel Action on Thursday, October 19th at 4 p.m. for those that are listening. And the title is How to Defeat Anti-Israel Activists. That's the title. So now that's a little better preface. Now let's listen.
Pro-Israeli people are losing the PR war and they know it. Listen to this.
This small group of activists, those who put on the TikTok, those who sent me anti-Semitic messages, those who sent others, are a small group with no decency.
That clip was from this meeting that was held this afternoon. So I'm going to give you guys a rundown of the highlights and the interesting things that they said.
This is a conference to see how they can better justify the mass murder of children and silence people who are against it.
I mean, that's just a great example of what we faced. That one TikTok had 25,000 views. Don't worry.
Now, I had to stop and give shout out to Midwestern Mark Eddie for triggering these people. Yeah, for triggering these people. But you see what level he is at, Nick, as far as who he's reaching. Look, they're examining his video and his reach. So when we see him on Twitter, or at least see him on Twitter all the time saying, oh, they banned my account. He's had a billion accounts already, and they can't stop him. It don't matter. He start a new account. That shit's getting 25,000 views. It don't matter, but you see the effects you could have. You just think, oh, I'm just talking here, and it's not. It is. Our speech, I absolutely believe, Nick, RBN is being examined in this way. I absolutely believe that. I mean, the media article sort of proves it. Just wanted to insert that. Shout out to Midwest.
If you guys don't remember, we're the most extreme radical leftist news source according to Mediaite. They definitely know who we are. Go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, and we wear that with a badge of honor. So let's let it play. Eddie again from Midwest.
Big shout out to Eddie. I gotta have him back on Nick and Night soon. Big shout out to Eddie.
Yeah. Here we go.
Things that they said.
This is a conference to see how they can better justify the mass murder of children and silence people who are against it.
I mean, that's just a great example of what we faced. That one TikTok had 25,000 views. Don't worry. The narrative is just so outrageous, right? So you're talking about a situation where literally Hamas butchered children.
And that video was kind of a highlight of some of the ways that this new type of political organizing is taking place. So the Democratic Socialists of America, we've all heard of them at this point. They were the organization.
I must say, Nick, it's humorous to me to watch a PowerPoint presentation about lefty activists online and to look into the mind of how that presentation is given by the professional managerial class, like activists versus managerial class. You understand that fight will never be won by the managerial class, like in reaching people on the ground. They're on the ground. Your little, poll tested, whatever propaganda strategy you're going to roll out will never be good enough to combat people actually on the ground, talking to people and just being a microphone for the people that are on the ground. Now I feel like that's what the RBN does.
This is a colonizer meeting. Like, can you imagine what their ancestors?
That's essentially what that is.
They been together at colonizers. Like, these motherfuckers are peeping game on us. This is how they're not embarrassed. How are they and their family not embarrassed by this? You know what I mean? Like, you are obviously the bad guy here. You guys meeting up, discussing your displeasure over people protesting over the murder of children. Oh my God, the people are upset that we're murdering children. You think, and somehow in your twisted mind, you somehow the good guy in this situation. Go ahead, CJ.
And the reason they're ineffective, Nick, young people don't watch TV. They don't watch TV, so their brains aren't propaganda soaked. Now this by way of somebody else, but it's not propaganda soaked. So go ahead.
That shows in the poll, CJ, because we saw the extremely depressing polls at first that show around 71% of Americans support Israel. Then we report on the polls the last few days that shows about 50-50 split. But when you look at the numbers, bro, Gen X, boomers and the silent generation, they all for genocide in terms of the numbers. Like you can get upset at me if you want, but like it's 20%.
Oh, I have that graph. I'm gonna bring it up. I have that
and
graph.
then the young people are like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about? Like you guys out of your goddamn mind." I'm calling out the black boomers because black boomers are out of their goddamn mind on this issue. The black boomers are talking out of their damn mind. Go ahead, CJ.
What are you that? I imagine them saying in that voice. What the fuck are you guys talking about?
Ain't no fucking
funny.
Organization in New York that actually promoted the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas cheerful rally in Times Square the day after the terrorist attack. They are the group that helped get AOC elected, mostly made up of younger people, and there's a lot of energy and excitement and colorful graphics and slogans. And
there's energy, excitement, and colorful graphics. That's what got us excited, Nick, about this Free Palestine. It has nothing to do with killing babies or nothing like that.
Dude, can you imagine the mindset of the colonizer, CJ? Like, cause this is a completely different culture than us, right? So we can't even I can't even imagine, right? But her and her colonizer genes, right? Her generational wealth. She know what her family did. She know what she's doing right now. So when she just sees young people organizing with signs, nigga, she gets furious. Boil these motherfucking kids. Who the fuck they think they are? I'm not going to. Let's do a web stream about this. Like, bro, I couldn't even imagine getting upset that kids are protesting. And that's why the question marks came up. They're like, what are you even saying right now? You're upset that kids are protesting and taking action? I thought the criticism of our generation that I heard my entire life was we apathetic. Right? That was what I heard as a younger millennial. Man, if only these damn younger millennials.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
About anything. Then we start giving a shit about something. They're like, not like that.
Not that one. Ukraine. Do the Ukraine.
Ideology.
Colorful graphics. Colorful graphics is what's drawing us in, not the fact that there is a genocide going on.
Almost parroting a Soviet era propaganda.
It does do my heart well, though, to counterpoint what you were saying earlier about some black boomers are the worst. It does my heart well that this is a young black woman who put this video out that went absolute viral. So that does my heart well to kind of counterbalance what you were saying earlier.
Yeah, I'm going blind into a lot of your videos. I purposely tried. I knew you was covering, so I purposely not to. I didn't look into it because I'm seeing a lot of these for the first time. So this is a good one.
Good. I try to do the same thing when I know the topic for you too. So let's listen to the rest of this. Let's get through. We got maybe another 5 minutes.
So through their really confident, exciting, colorful campaigns, worldwide organizational tool to demean Israel and diminish its standing in the world community, to compete and to run and win and defeat these far left extremists, especially those who are associated and promoting and using social media in particular to promote their anti-Semitism.
They talking to each other.
I'm confused about
them fucking kids are talking to each other. What the fuck? Go ahead.
Why there are so many anti-Israeli activists now out of nowhere.
It seems like, though, we've lost ground, right? Let's just be honest, right?
Sure.
It seems like we've lost ground. There weren't socialists. You never had these anti-Israel activists to the same level, right? You've had
They call out Jewish Voices for Peace for being anti-Semitic.
Organizations, for example, Jewish Voices for Peace, right? Where I would say up until a few weeks ago, they were flirting with anti-Semitism, and now they've gone full-on anti-Semitic, anti-Israel with a rally yesterday in Washington, D.C., where they're literally spreading propaganda that is...
They also just kept lying and lying about Hamas.
They've been proven false, where they're publicly saying that Israel bombed a hospital, which we actually know was not bombed by Israel, but was in fact bombed by terrorists. Literally cut the belly.
No, the IMF literally said it was going to bomb the hospital. Like, and you guys realize that no one in the world is falling for this except the Western proxies, right? It's only the US, UK, Canada, France, literally everyone else in the world. Like, nigga, we know Israel bombed the goddamn hospital because you guys said it on Twitter. And then they're trying to erase all this evidence. And then the hospital workers, they feel like, we got evacuation orders. You guys said you guys going to bomb this hospital. You guys bombed the hospital a week before this. And then they bombed the hospital afterwards. And they're like, no, we didn't bomb this hospital. It's so absurd. They think people are gonna believe this lie. They really think they're gonna shame us.
People are not just not believing it, Nick. This past weekend, and we're gonna get to a little bit of the footage in a little while. But we're gonna show a little bit. This past weekend, the pro-Palestinian activism was off the chain. That's an old term for people. Like, it was unbelievable, unreal. Like LA, Nick, so mad out because this is the one I made the graphic and everything. Aaron made the graphic, and then my wife got a flat tire, so I had this whole thing just now getting it fixed, by the way. But anyway, it had to be at least 40,000-50,000 people down there, Nick.
Yeah.
So this is not like some small little couple of hundred. We're talking about cities, Nick, where tens of thousands of people, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, in London, 100,000. Like, these are masses of people, so that they can't refute this. Nobody believes what you guys are saying. Go ahead, Nick.
Do you mind if I share this just for 1 second?
Because, yeah, go ahead.
Look, you guys know how fucking crazy this is? In South Korea historically been a Western proxy. You know, they helped them fight the communists, right? Even if you got protests popping up in South Korea, Japan, Brazil. The footage I seen coming out of Brazil has been insane. Look, this is South fucking Korea, fam.
팔레스타인의 연대를! 팔레스타인의 연대를! 가만둘 수 없지 않습니까? Down, down, Israel! Down, down, Israel! Down, down, Israel! Free, free, Palestine! Palestine! Free, free, Palestine! Free, free, Palestine! Free, free, Palestine! Free, free, Palestine! Israel! Free, free, Palestine!
Nick, this might be, or this could be, let me say it that way. This could be one of those activating events, but why this is unique, this is an international activating event. And we saw that this weekend. So we can insert those. If you have more city stuff we can insert here. It's going to be a kind of a longer segment. Then yeah, we'll kind of be a longer segment. We already know we got a lot of Israel stuff.
I wanted to show you guys what they're worried about. Like, you got South Korea doing this, and I've seen countless footage. I'm glad you got some saved as well. But I'll pass back to you. We can continue.
Yeah. So let's listen to some more of the panic that they have here.
Others open and then chop the heads of their babies off. It's barbaric. That's just inhumane. And this is what people are cheering.
They go on this rant about decency, and who's going to tell them that ethnic cleansing is not decent?
Need to organize. I know it sounds like a bad word. People affiliated with the left. Organize. Organize is not a bad word. The reality is that if we had everybody on this Zoom would spend 1 hour a week, we could control and retake the narrative. And that's what tonight is all about.
They want to learn how to make friends and allies like the DSA does.
How do we build relationships and allies, and how do we really make friends like the DSA does on the left?
And our focus is not as diverse as the DSA and the left is. Okay.
One of the big things I took away from this is how there's no unity on the pro-Israel side of things. Like, they are lacking unity, and that's a huge issue for them right now.
We should all be supporting each other so it becomes more communal. New York City is notorious for identity politics. I think that needs to stop. The DSA and the left wing understand that. They are diverse in their ethnicity, in their religious backgrounds, and that's the reason why their voices have been so much more amplified. The left is organized. And
he read one of the very...
I mean, I wish we were this organized, that how he's saying in here, but I wouldn't call it that we're organized. I think what he's saying, what he's describing is the left has solidarity. And I have to say, the Palestine issue, I would say, is trying to think of another issue that's more unifying than Palestine. I mean, I can't. Am I missing something so obvious? I must be missing something so obvious. But this is a very unifying issue. So let's listen to the rest here.
Very anti-Semitic emails that was sent to him today, and kind of alluded to pro-Palestinians as being these crazy evil people.
In a respectful way, not like the email that we just got that said, you people are blankety blank, you're dirty Zionist pigs, we're stealing everyone's resources. This is what the crazies do.
You guys are blankety blank. You're Zionist pigs and stealing everybody's resources. He's telling them, don't talk to the people like that, okay? Don't talk to them like that. He's using that as an example. That's hilarious. Go ahead if you want to read the super chat.
Yeah, I was thanks for 1999, John. Dave Chappelle at 50. We're gonna get to that segment, I'm sure, here later. Max Blumenthal is in his mid-40s, so I think there are some younger Gen X that are for Palestine. Absolutely. Correct me if I'm wrong, CJ, but you're Gen X, right? Am I wrong on that?
What is? See, I don't know the names as much.
Yeah, I know. I'm like younger.
I don't know the order.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal.
Is it
but
Gen?
I'll just look at the
Maybe
polls.
I am Gen X. Maybe
obviously, when you look at the polls, like 70-20. So the 20% that are based, but generally just based on the numbers, based on the massive overwhelming support, the older generation was brainwashed. But you guys are the resisting fighters in the older generation. You guys have been fighting against.
Yeah, Gen X. I just looked up the dates. Yes. So it's 65 to 80. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, this is what I say all the time. Like people.
Hey,
like,
I don't know these. I don't know these numbers. Yeah, I don't know.
I guess I'll say this again for newer people who don't know my work. Like I have so much respect for Boomer, Gen X, and Silent Generation, like real lefty socialists and Marxists, because you guys lived through a generation of fucking propaganda, fam. Like intense propaganda your entire life, and then after that, you guys turned out anti-imperialist, leftist based. Don't get me wrong, because I have a lot of respect. That's why when I say that, I'm talking about the general numbers. I'm just talking about when I look at the polls, the amount of silent generation and boomers is overwhelming.
The reason you think that, or the reason you say that, is because it's partly true. Because it's a big range, and I think this is one of the bigger ranges I've seen. Like 65 to 80, that's 15 years. Is that yeah? 15 years. So you have to think this is all the way. So you're talking somebody in their 60s right now, I think, something like that. So that's kind of a big range to include. But there is another poll, and maybe I'll bring it up in a second. There is another poll, Nick, and I know you've seen it, where it shows the breakdown. I think it's 18 to 34. And then 34 to 49, 18 to 34 is something like 27%. Like, great. Those are the people we're seeing at the colleges that they're talking about. 18 to 24. They're down to 27%. And then the next level is like in the 30s or something like that, or late 30s or something like that. I'll show that in a little bit. Let's finish this clip, and then we'll get to those other smaller receipts here.
Do right? I've never in my life have I ever gotten on an anti-Semitic or KKK or a Palestinian from the river to the sea protest and said, "Hey, you guys are terrible." Like that's not a normal thing to do, right? What ends up happening is you have these really radical, crazy people who are engaged, and they hear from the crazies, but they don't hear from the normies, and the normies are the people out here who we need to hear from.
They go on to talk about liberal Twitter, so.
The normies, the people who casually support genocide. Go ahead. That's an absurd thing to say.
What is going on here?
This guy is unhinged. He's literally you can see the rage through the screen. Let's listen to this guy. He appeared earlier too, and he was rageful like this too.
What is going on here? Because when I log on to Twitter, it sounds like it's a one-sided discussion. But when you think about Twitter represents only 23% of Americans are on Twitter. Only 23%. And of that 10%, of that 23%, basically messages 80% of the conversation. So 4% of Americans are controlling a narrative and telling you that's what's happening? What?
I saw this blood libel that was being spread by folks.
It's so weird how this conversation and this framing of it completely avoids the propaganda that's completely on their side on corporate media. That is so weird. Absolutely. How they completely act like that doesn't exist. All of the papers, like everywhere. Like I feel like it's the opposite, Nick. I feel like people are hungry for pro-Palestinian content, or whether it's on social media and the tweets. That's why so many tweets go viral. Having your tweets, having the frequency of your tweets going viral, haven't they gone up since the Palestinian? Because people are hungry for that, because it's so much opposite. I can't even watch TV now. I haven't been able to watch horrible. TV. Yes. Yeah, I can't even, because it's so bad.
That's why you guys know, like, we haven't been doing those propaganda reports. Like, I watched one clip of Morning Joe this morning. It was unbearable, fam. Like, it's straight up pro-genocide propaganda. Yeah, it's insane. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who had said that the Israelis had targeted a hospital. And the first thing I tweeted, I didn't even know the facts. I was like, Israel would never intentionally target a hospital.
I didn't even know the facts, but he knew this. Israel would never target a hospital. And this is where I hearken back to when you said colonizer genes. Because in order for you to say that, you are literally distancing yourself from current reality. You're literally disconnecting yourself from current reality. Let's let him say it again.
Well, the first thing I tweeted, I didn't even know the facts. I was like, Israel would never intentionally target a hospital, right? Like, what about that little tiny?
Like, just the belief of that with all of the evidence. I don't understand how. I understand how my mom, who's in her 70s, I understand why she would think that. She only watches TV. So she only has network TV and cable news. So I understand why she would think that. I just don't get why people like this guy on the screen, like, you should have
the average unhinged Zionist. And that's why many people who are extremely passionate about liberation, especially Palestinians, they don't like debating Zionists. Because unless you're like well-trained, disciplined, and you already got like a game plan in mind, they will daze and confuse you with their bullshit. They will say stuff that is so untrue. You're like, wait, what? Israel don't. You gotta be a train. You gotta be like I think Max did great on Temple. You gotta be someone like that who have a game plan, who know the facts, because they would daze you with bullshit like this. And if you're not someone who well read on these issues, you can hear these people talk about this, and you get confused as hell. Like, wait, Israel don't bomb hospitals? I just thought I saw them bomb a fucking hospital. But anyway, CJ, go ahead.
You take to be on social media and other things. The communist scare that happened in the 1950s, which feels like that right now. The rush to judgment, the lack of decency.
War is terrible. War is one thing, but there are rules of war. People die, and that's horrible, horrible thing. And obviously, Israel's in a defensive war where they're defending themselves against Hamas, and they have to do that. But
this is a side note, but he kept saying this is PhD level politics.
This is PhD level politics over here.
And all it was asking.
You know what that means? They're saying these are dumb workers.
Yeah,
that are not listening to the narrative. These are dumb workers that are not listening to the narrative. That's the language. Yeah,
the classism is Zionism.
That is such a double meaning, but I get that is spot on. That is spot on.
Yeah, I can rant about it, but I save you guys time.
People to vote and contact their representatives, and those of us.
So she's ending this video, which is a good thing that she's doing. She's saying, don't be detoured. Continue to do what you're doing. Protest, post about this. So let's listen to this end of this video here.
Level politics over here.
And all it was asking people to vote and contact their representatives. And those of us who are on the crazy radical left, that is just, the go-to bare minimum. And then they go on to talk about the hostages and things like that. This is my biggest takeaway from this. They know that they are losing. They know that people are not buying their propaganda. So I hope this is an encouragement to everyone to keep posting, because everything we're doing is working. Keep posting, even if you don't feel like an expert or feel like you have a voice that matters. Just keep posting because it's working. Our solidarity with the Palestinian people is seen and so loud to them right now, and it's scaring them.
Spot on video, and I'll take that down.
That's why we see.
Go ahead.
And just to wrap the bow on that part, this part of the mini segment of what we're covering right now, that's why you see the rise of authoritarianism in the West. That's why you see the illusion of liberal democracy and the rights that you thought you had go away because they were panicking. That's why they banning pro-Palestinian marches all over Germany and France and the UK. There was someone who was waving the Palestinian flag at his house in the UK, and he got a visit by the police threatening him to take the flag down. Luckily, the guy stood his ground. Like, this is the mask falling off the West, the illusion of liberal democracy being exposed, because they can get along and have fun along you going with the bullshit, right? Like, if you're not talking about the wars, you're not talking about the corruption. Yeah, you got rights. We're not gonna fuck you up. Look at all these rights you got. You go along with this shit, right? The second that you stand against their genocide, watch how fast those rights go away. The second that you stand against cop cities, watch how fast you get labeled a domestic terrorist. I told you guys these rights are temporary. That's all it's always been. Procedure, I pass to you.
They're abstract, yeah. They're only in the books, the fantasy books that we call history books. That's where they really exist. Absolutely. They don't really exist in real life. But this is the poll, Nick, that I was referring to. Look at that number there. 18 to 34. 27%.
Jesus fucking Christ.
That is awesome. Because let me make sure I read the question and make people understand. Israel's military response to a Hamas attack is fully justified. Only 27% said it's justified, which means, what is that? 73% says it's not justified. And this is a CNN poll, which means they tried to skew it as much as they can. And so it's probably could be a lot lower if they didn't try to skew it.
I had a visceral reaction because I was looking at the 65 and older. That's 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5 boomers like, hell yeah, we down for genocide. God bless the 1 out of 5 who's not falling for this shit, man.
And my age group, 35 to 49, is 44%. I'm ashamed of that. Some people say that, oh, it's better as under 50%. I just feel like where I'm at, you get what I'm saying? Where I'm at, it feels like, man, why isn't people who I grew up with in the same place? Like, this should be obvious. That's why I look at it that way. It's like,
and this is how I see these numbers, guys. This is how I see these numbers. So that's 44%. So it's like, you good, you good, you good, you good, you good. You support genocide. You support genocide. You support genocide. Nigga, it's not a good ratio, bro. I know it feels good, but that's not good, bro. Even 27%, that's 1 out of 4. That's 1 out of 4 people in my age group that support genocide. I'm good. You're good. He's good. He supports genocide. Yes. You're good. He's good. You're good. He supports genocide. That's too much. But go ahead.
That's how you look at it. Like,
yeah, that's how I view
it. So out of 100 people, 27 of them. I guess when you're looking at it as from a humanity standpoint, any number is too much, especially, but anything in a double digit, I would say, is too much. But in the broad scheme of when you compare it to a 65-year-old, like, that's win, 4 times. Yeah.
My mindset is always we got work to do. That's like I'm always down taking the win because that's good to see a number that low in our generation. But my mindset is always let's keep working. Let's keep shrinking the amount of people who support genocide. I think.
Do you think that video that we just saw is going to affect this number? Do you think those people with the tactics that they're talking about is reachable? I just don't think these people are reachable. They are locked in to whatever news source they get their information to be. This. If they're this based, that means they're locked in and they know how to foo away just nonsense. They'll be, oh, get this shit out. You know what I mean? Move this out the way. So I don't think that group is reachable, which means that what is the outlook for Israel? And it speaks to the video that we played, the conversation between Scott Ritter and Garland Nixon, where he's basically, Scott Ritter, I don't know if you've seen the video, Nick, but Scott Ritter is saying Hamas wants them to attack. This is a setup.
Yeah, that was a great breakdown by Scott.
Yeah. So
one last thing I say about these numbers before I pass right back to you. Like, if you look at Russia, if you look at China, when you look at Brazil, South America, these numbers are completely flipped. You guys know how crazy things are in the US and UK? You guys think we've been too harsh about the number counting thing, right? Like it's only the Western UK, US, essentially the NATO propaganda bubble that's supporting Israel. Remember, the only reason why Hamas is not legally in the right, I'm not saying like theoretically, the only reason Hamas is not legally in the right is because the United States. Because according to the law, if you're a criminal rogue regime that is committing apartheid, people have the legal right to armed resistance. So you guys realize that almost every other country wants that except Canada, the UK, and the US. They're the ones who constantly block UN resolutions to label Israel an apartheid criminal state, which will give the Palestinians right to armed resistance. That's why it's so crucial for the United States to block those votes. That's why AIPAC spent so much money here, fam. That's why I refuse to accept the narrative that Hamas and Palestinian resistance fighters are terrorists, because I side with 90% of the world who view Israel as out of compliance, thus giving Palestinians, including Hamas, the right to resist them. Correct? Anyway, I'll let you continue. I just want to add that last
But
part.
anybody who's a Zionist and understands the issue, this is why it makes them so upset, because they understand the importance of people buying into the fact that they're terrorists, because this is how you can justify this is how they can explain away they shouldn't be able to retaliate or shouldn't be able to resist is the actual accurate word, not retaliate, but to resist. So, but go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
I'll pass it. You go ahead, CJ. You're good.
Yeah, so let me see. I don't even remember. I don't know if I have one more receipt. I don't have many more receipts for this segment. I know we're going to be talking about more Israel stuff, so I might have receipts for other Israel segments, but let me just make sure don't have one more receipt. Oh yeah, there is an article that I do want to briefly touch upon, and let me read. Why did I save this one here? Let me read this. I saved this for a reason. It says, I saw a video of Zionists on a conference call. This is describing the thing. Scared as fuck because most people that aren't prehistorically aged.
Damn.
I can't believe I did not retweet this. Why didn't I retweet this? I thought I did. I saved it. But aged don't stand with Israel. They thought we were swayed by infographics. I'm still cackling because they're laughing like we like. You really think we believe? He said, please, like, sure, I need to see. Like we believe this nice nonsense. Please share. I need to see. Let me see if they did.
Yes, like this is like the idea that Zionist propaganda works.
Oh no! Somebody just said me too. Somebody just said share me too. They didn't actually share. But go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, the idea that Zionist propaganda will be believed by anyone is absurd to Black Twitter, fam. And Black Twitter, this shit it's comical shit. You know what I mean? The idea that so many people support the unhinged Zionist talking points. Like just straight up disregard of international law. You guys realize RBN, we were one of the few people quoting the law. There are many people who speak up for the Palestinians that are afraid to quote the law. I condemn Hamas, they're terrorists. No, they're not. According to international law. There may be individual people who commit crimes, like any organization, but as an organization, they're not out of compliance. The people out of compliance is Israel. We're the only people who know the law now, apparently, CJ. The same nation, the same culture who implement harsh, authoritarian law and order on our communities. They implement civil asset forfeiture and steal our wealth using law as the justification. It did not quote law to them like, oh my God, you guys are sympathizing with Hamas. No, I am quoting your fucking laws, your stupid ass goddamn book. That is the one I'm quoting. But go ahead, CJ, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, so to kind of close this part of the Israel presentation, because we're going to have other, I guess, topics maybe. Let me read this. This is from Time Magazine, how the activist left turned on Israel. This is them describing that 27% that we saw in that poll. Daniel Skokech, has spent much of his career fighting for equal rights for Israelis and Palestinians. As CEO of the New Israel Fund, now listen, did you see any contradictions here? He's the CEO of the New Israel Fund, but he's claiming in this article that he's been fighting for human rights for both sides. Just already, when I first read it, I was like, that's weird. I'm like, this is weird, gonna be propaganda. I already know what it is. So, but that's why we're studying this. We're studying their propaganda in the game plan. So he runs the largest global organization promoting democracy and equality for all who live under Israeli control. Sokech was horrified to hear the news of Hamas massacre of Israeli civilians on October 7th. But what further shocked him was the immediate response from some of his fellow advocates for Palestinian rights. Quote, the reaction reeks of anti-Semitism, he says. He goes on to say, you can celebrate the slaughter of those people just because they're Israeli in a way that you wouldn't anywhere else in the globe. Interesting way that they're described that. Go ahead.
Where else in the globe is there state sponsoring demolition of homes and then settlers seeing families being displaced? Instead of morally objecting to that, they said, oh shit, I got a new house. That's mine, yank. Yank. Hey, oh, sorry, if I didn't take their home, someone else would have took their home. You can't get mad at me. You can't get mad at me, the settler, because, hey, someone else would have did it if I didn't do it. Where else in the world is this acceptable? And this is something we've been reporting on. Where's the outrage from this guy about that? The guy who cared about Palestinian rights, apparently, for years and years, they've been forcing people to, there's instances where they force Palestinians to bulldoze their own home. And then if they don't, they'll be out of compliance. They'll be charged under the law. So they force motherfuckers to bulldoze their own home, CJ. And then if they didn't, like many of them did it because they had dignity, then they come in, bulldoze their home, and then fuck the family up. And then you guys want me to feel bad for these settlers who then, after seeing these people get removed from the house, they didn't move in. They don't feel anything. They don't feel anything about it. They're like, nigga, we got this new couch. Nigga, when you see this TV, nigga, thank God, nigga. Thank God that Palestinian family was forced the fuck out. And I'm the only motherfucker who got the balls to make this argument. How the fuck are these people civilians when they are willing agents of the settler colonial project of Israel? And they're using their children as human shields because the children did not consent to be a participant of the colonial project. Not Hamas, not the Palestinians. It's the Israelis who use human shields. They use their children. People who could not consent to this bullshit. And sorry, well then this is who I am speaking, right? I don't expect people to like me. I guess I'm a bad guy. But I don't feel bad for people who move in and force someone out of their house. If you kick my family out of their house using the state, and if something bad happened to you, nigga, I'm dancing the next day. Y'all know what you did to my cousin. Get the fuck out of here, nigga. That's just me. I guess I'm not a pure-hearted person. I guess that's where I come from. Like, if you not imagine my mama, right? Imagine this motherfucker took my mama's house. This doesn't happen to them, and I'm mourning them. Get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean?
That's a great point. Go ahead, that's a great point. But let's continue. I feel the same way. Instead of condemning and mourning the deadliest day for Jews since Israel's founding, factions of the grassroots left appear to celebrate the assault as an act of Palestinian heroism. The National Chapter of Students for Justice in Palestine called it a, quote, historic win for the Palestinian resistance, end quote. A coalition of 34 Harvard students organizations, hold on, let's pop up here, organizations issued a statement saying they, quote, hold the Israeli regime entirely responsible for all unfolding violence, end quote. The Democratic Socialists of America promoted a pro-Palestinian rally in New York where attendees reportedly chanted, resistance is justified when people are occupied. This is something, Nick, that is very scary to a country like the United States. Very scary, that line. And this is why people who have that colonial DNA, that how you refer to it, is because of this fear that I know my ancestry, and I even now I'm prolonging the suffering. So I know there's people with seething anger at us. And the only way to keep us safe is to keep dehumanizing and caging those offspring and murdering their offspring, because that's the only way we're gonna be safe, because of the deeds we did, Nick. It is so transparent. That is the reason. But let's continue with this article. I do want to read the next paragraph, and then we'll cut it here. One was displaying a swastika. A Twitter account apparently belonging to Black Lives Matter Chicago posted an image of a paraglider with a Palestinian flag on X, appearing to celebrate the Hamas terrorists who descended to slaughter hundreds of Israelis at the music festival. Now, I know maybe it's not a good time to bring it to ask, because they make this connection here, but it's really weird in the video we were watching, Nick, how when you say pro-Palestinian and the rallies always say Palestinian, they never mention the word Hamas, but the people who examine it, they retell the story as this pro-Hamas rally, when you see how they're viewing it the same. It's a tell. Absolutely. They are viewing it the same when they're trying to convince us, no, it's a fight of Hamas. No, it's not. You just told us Hamas and Palestinians are the same thing. You're telling us that. So that's the same thing. When even in their own vernacular, it's a tell. Go ahead if you were gonna chime in there.
No, that's that just show their unhinged mindset, where they just, anyone who resists this genocidal colonial project they view as terrorists. This is why I have the militant stance I have. I'm not giving an inch, fam. The progressive said Zionists, every single of these progressive Democrats, they're giving mouths. I'm not giving a goddamn inch. Hey, Nick, condemn Hamas. Nope. I'm not playing your goddamn game. Hey, Nick, you're anti-Semite. I don't care if you call me an anti-Semite for standing for the Semitic Palestinian people.
Yeah.
And this is what new young people are doing, especially young black people. We don't give these motherfuckers an inch. The Bernie Sanders are like, yo, yeah, I can see the Hamas is terror. I can see the Israel defense. I can see.
Not me.
Nah, fam. Nah, not me. Go ahead, CJ.
Yeah. All right. So, this last part here. Quote, the glorification and justification of violence against civilians is not something I've seen in this movement in the 25 years I've been looking at it, says Oren Segal, vice president of the Anti-Defamation League. Really? The ADL, these clowns? This is who you're referencing?
Yeah.
Yes. And you see, to the point that I forget who made this. Oh, it was Glenn Greenwald who I did the segment on about this. And to that point, you see how the Anti-Defamation League is weaponized, or you see how Anti-Defamation League weaponizes anti-Semitism. This is not at all anti-Semitism whatsoever. But they come in and say, we are the authority on anti-Semitism, and we give this the stamp of approval. And that's essentially what the ADL does. Go ahead.
If you guys want to know why the establishment really hates Glenn Greenwald, it's because check out his amazing breakdown and destruction of the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, aka the Democrat Zionist Club. Completely the idea, and I think the idea of standing up against any hatred towards any group is a good idea, right? But that good idea was hijacked by what? Liberals and ruined. Like liberals ruin fucking everything, right? They hijacked the good idea of standing for a group who was victims of a Holocaust, people who've been victims of all these violence and acts who I have deep sympathy for. They took that great idea, standing for those people, and now they're weaponizing it to justify genocide, go after people who are standing against colonialism.